Okay, let's talk. If you're anything like me, you're probably a huge fan of long-form, serialized TV dramas. You know, you've got your big ones, your Breaking Bads, your The Wires, your Sopranos, the kind of shows that don't just entertain you, they ruin TV for you forever once they're finished. And once you've burned through all the top 10 all times lists, you're kind of just sitting there, doom scrolling, opening Netflix, closing Netflix, opening Hulu, closing Hulu, looking for the next one, thinking surely there has to be another one of those out there, right? Well, boy, oh boy, do I have a fucking recommendation for you, baby. Snowfall.
Khadijah, Lenny Carvel, him, her, him, bodies. I'm the smart one.
So Snowfall aired on FX from 2017 to 2023 and is set in early 1980s Los Angeles, and it follows multiple characters with interweaving storylines who directly contributed to and profited from the creation of the crack cocaine epidemic in 1980s America. Now, while this is a fictional story, it's kind of rooted in very real events. The characters themselves are obviously made up, but what sets Snowfall apart is how much of what goes on, especially with the US government and the CIA, is based on real life insanity. Trust me, it's fucking wild what goes on, but we'll get to that in a second. At the center of the story is Franklin Saint, played masterfully by Damson Idris. Franklin is a young, brilliant street kid who feels destined for more than the life of poverty he was born into, despite his badass mother working tirelessly to give him every opportunity she can to get out the traditional way. He just, unfortunately, has a self-destructive dark side that gradually twists his best qualities into something seriously dangerous and deeply destructive.
I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick. And I'll be damned if I let you tear it down just because you don't like the way another nigga talk.
Running parallel to Franklin throughout the show is a man named Teddy McDonald, played by the lesser-known actor but equally impressive Carter Hudson. Teddy starts out as a young, down-on-his-luck government agent, a military man raised in a household full of veterans and war heroes who considers himself a true red-blooded American patriot and finds himself at the start of the show, get this, secretly moving cocaine into the United States on behalf of the CIA in an attempt for them to illegally fund the South American rebellion during the Cold War, which, by the way, really happened. But again, we'll get to that in a second. The drugs get sold in Los Angeles by Franklin. The money gets funneled overseas or spent on weapons by Teddy, and entire communities are completely destroyed as a result. Together, and I cannot stress this enough, together, they do a lot of damage. And yeah, look, I get it. If all of that sounds pretty complicated, sometimes it can be. But Snowfall is written in a way where the creators trust you. They don't hold your hand, but they also never really leave you behind. And even though there's a lot of quote unquote slow parts, all of those are essential pieces in the chess match at play, and nothing is a waste. You're always aware of why characters are doing what they're doing. And that's really important because this show is not just about drugs, it's about power, ego, circumstance. Most of all, it's about the people, often from the very communities being destroyed, who make all this destruction possible.
Oh, fuck, motherfucker. Tom, nigga!
There's a ton of cool shit to talk about when it comes to why you should watch this show. It's got awesome, often extremely violent action scenes. It's packed with deep characters played by incredible actors and has several layers of scheming and espionage upon scheming and espionage, from street-level drug crews in LA all the way up to government agents and international drug lords, and it all unfolds as this gripping 6-season game of chess. I could just go on and on, but one thing stands head and shoulders above everything else as the best part of this show and the reason you should watch. Damson Idris as Franklin Saint.
I tried to fix it. I did everything. I showed them compassion. I showed them mercy. I walked away. I was the bigger man. And look where the fuck it got me.
Franklin Saint is without a doubt one of the greatest television characters of recent memory, and somehow he's incredibly slept on by the casual TV viewing audience. I didn't even know about this show when it was actually airing on FX. I only caught it post-mortem after it was finished on Hulu. He belongs in the same tier of complex anti-heroes as Walter White, Tony Soprano, Saul Goodman, the Lannister brothers. I don't know, pick your favorites. There's a bajillion of them, and Franklin Saint is just as good as any of them. The entire show hinges on him. Damson, Idris's performance, and Franklin Saint's writing, his ambition, his intelligence, his ego, and spoiler alert, his eventual downfall.
Listen to me, you cracker motherfucker. Listen to me, okay? If I don't have that money in 24 hours, I promise to God that I will devote every second I have on this green earth to making sure you and everybody you care about suffers.
Damson Idris just carries the whole fucking show on his shoulders. I don't really know what to tell you. This is one of those performances where you can see the entire emotional spectrum play out on someone's face. When Franklin is scared, you feel it. When he's hurt, it stings. And when his ego is completely out of control, it is so much fun. He owns every room that he walks into. You just completely believe his arc and performance in the same way that you just completely believe Bryan Cranston's transformation into Walter White. And outside of the two main characters, these two shows don't have a whole lot in common, but these two main character performances are very, very similar. They never feel rushed. They never feel forced. It feels like watching someone slowly convince themselves that they are completely invincible right before reality kicks in. Franklin is just such an easy character to identify with. He's smart, and he knows he's smart. He's got that classic gifted kid problem that a lot of us probably recognize in others, or more likely ourselves. There's this old idea that the world is full of geniuses, but very few of them have the ambition and drive to actually do anything about it. But Franklin is one of those rare few. He is intelligent enough to see the rat race clearly, and he immediately wants out. He genuinely believes that he could do anything in this world, and honestly, he probably could. But he's also plagued by pettiness, resentment, anger, and this weird, dangerous need for control. It's a compulsion to manage every variable, dominate every situation, and bend human beings, people, his family to his will, even when it's clearly destroying everything he cares about.
First time I met you, I said to myself, this young man can do anything he wants. And that's the biggest curse a man can have.
The show does an excellent job of showing how systemic failures, racism, poverty, fatherhood, lack of opportunity don't excuse Franklin's actions, but they do absolutely shape them. And through multiple seasons, we're also forced to watch this neighborhood completely disintegrate directly because of the choices that Franklin makes. And that is where Snowfall really makes an impact if you're willing to listen. Also, just kind of circling back to Damson Idris for a second, obviously he's given A+ material to work with, but he knocks this fucking thing out of the park for 60 straight episodes. Damson Idris fucking rocks, plain and simple. It's genuinely not surprising at all that this dude is probably the next Black Panther. He just has that rare, undeniable movie star charisma. And it's kind of wild that we get a full 6-season run of him as the lead in this gritty little FX drug drama before Disney inevitably got their grubby mouse hands on him. And now we'll only get to see him pop up every few years in the next Marvel movies. Also, just pointing out for the people who didn't know, he's British in real life, which somehow makes this performance even more insane. His accent never slips, like ever. There are entire videos online just dedicated to Franklin Saint screaming at people, and they exist because Damson Idris is doing such a good job making you feel like a hard-ass motherfucking gangster when he's doing his daily business.
Drive, motherfucker!
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
The man undeniably has the sauce. So I've talked about the premise and I've talked about the lead, but when you actually take my advice and boot up the first season, what should you expect to see? Well, the first season of Snowfall is very much about setting the stage. Structurally, the show does this Game of Thrones style thing where we're constantly bouncing between ongoing storylines that all feel really separate at first, but are slowly being pulled towards each other. And while seasons 3 through 6 only have 2 main Game of Thrones style storylines going on, seasons 1 and 2 have 3. The first, and without a doubt the strongest storyline, is obviously Franklin's. Season 1 spends a lot of time on his backstory and his very first steps into the game, and while it starts a little slow, it works because you immediately attach yourself to Franklin. Before the drug stuff really even ramps up, the show gives you a deep understanding of who all these people around him are: his mother Sissy, his uncle Jerome, Leon, Alton, and more importantly, why all these people keep making the choices that they do. That foundation is everything. It's what carries the next 5 seasons. Running parallel to all that Franklin stuff is the CIA storyline centered on Teddy, and this part of the show is admittedly slower in season 1. There's no denying that, but personally I still found it really compelling, and it only gets stronger as the series goes on, ending up being the main thing going on in the final few seasons. But what makes it especially interesting is that a huge portion of it is rooted in the real historical events of the 1980s that I was talking about earlier. The short version is this. In the 1980s, the CIA desperately wanted to get involved in a rebellion happening in South America, specifically the country of Nicaragua. The concern was that a group called the Sandinistas, who controlled the Nicaraguan government at the time, were being backed by the Soviet Union. And since this is the Cold War, America obviously simply cannot let the Ruskies get that close. So the goal became supporting the rebel forces, known as the Contras, as much as possible. Here's the problem. The government at large voted against getting involved. Everyone wanted to stay out of South America entirely, essentially allowing the Russians to set up shop in what the US considered its backyard. So, naturally, the CIA did what the CIA does best. They got sneaky. They actually began covertly moving cocaine across the US border and sold it to their own people, specifically in Southern California, and used those profits to fund and arm the Contra Rebellion. Now, to be clear, this is the CIA that we're talking about, so none of this has been 100% ironclad, take these fucking assholes to court proven. But there are some really interesting books and videos and fun stuff online if you're interested in the real story. And regardless, it makes for an incredibly compelling fictional story to build your TV show around, which is where everybody's favorite patriotic bootlicker Teddy McDonald comes in. Teddy is like Franklin's mirror image. He's just as intelligent, he's just as driven, and unfortunately, he's just as delusional. He's just got a government badge instead of a street gang. Teddy sees himself as a patriot. He sees himself as the only man willing to do what's necessary, quote unquote, for the good of America. But he routinely ignores the fact that the drugs he's selling are destroying the same country he's claiming to protect. Over 6 seasons, he consistently chooses to go deeper and deeper into the game, turning more into a drug lord than a government agent, and he hurts more and more people along the way, all while insisting it's necessary. He somehow deludes himself into believing that he's saving the world, and the dynamic between Teddy and Franklin becomes the beating heart of this show.
White folks are fighting to keep what they gotta get even more, and black folks are fighting to survive. And America don't give a fuck whether we make it or not.
Yeah, obviously your people got a raw deal. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that just because the playing field isn't level, it doesn't mean you don't have every opportunity.
You really believe that?
Yes, I do. That's what makes America great.
They lie to each other, they manipulate each other, they save each other, they respect each other, they become friends, and slowly, inevitably, they also tear each other apart.
I know what has to happen.
What are you talking about?
You think you have to kill me one day? But before you do, I'm gonna kill you.
It's like Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. If Jesse Pinkman was just as smart as Walter from the beginning, and Walter was secretly working for the government. Their relationship is really fun to watch because it feels painfully human. We've all had someone like this in our lives, a toxic partner or friend that we're in this weird imaginary competition with. That doesn't really benefit anyone. It only just serves to hurt people. And that kind of kinship always reaches an impasse. And when it does here, it's devastating, but also so fucking entertaining. Teddy McDonald is obviously a fictional character, but he acts as a stand-in or an audience surrogate for that very real CIA operation. His storyline isn't just about the logistics of secretly running a criminal empire for the CIA. It's about who he is and why he's essentially operating as a drug lord with a government-issued ID, and the lengths that the American government will go to fight the commies. Like, how did they even find a guy this talented and this driven to do something so fucked up? Now, if you've already forgotten, I don't blame you, but we are kind of talking about the storylines that are going on in season 1, and now it's kind of time that we have to talk about the third storyline that's going to happen in the first 2 seasons. A decent chunk of the early seasons are also devoted to characters who are in the Mexican cartel. Characters like Gustavo, Lucia, Pedro, and I'm just gonna say it, this is easily the weakest part of the show by a pretty wide margin. It's not terrible, but it does absolutely drag compared to the Franklin and the CIA material. But don't go away yet. Luckily, as the show goes on, most of this storyline and its surviving characters get folded into Teddy's CIA arc. And by season 2, its role is already super reduced. And by season 3, it's essentially completely a part of Teddy's story. So it happens very quickly. And once that happens, Snowfall becomes a much cleaner, much more focused dual narrative between Franklin and Teddy without all the extra bullshit weighing it down. And don't get me wrong, some of the characters from this storyline do truly become indispensable in the eventual climax of the show as a whole. So it's not like it's not important. All I'm saying is prepare to watch a little bit of substandard cartel stuff in the beginning before it gets really good. But I promise it does eventually pay off in a really important way.
This is the easiest promise I'm gonna make to you today, also. If you get me, Teddy, I'll kill that motherfucker.
In all honesty, season 1 feels more like a midpoint of this opening 2-season arc, and season 1 is admittedly slow at first in places, but if you put in the work and let the show set up its characters and stakes and world, you eventually get rewarded in a big way that makes everything that follows hit really hard. And just for kicks, season 1 has a banger pilot, so at the very least you have that to look forward to. And if you've been on TikTok in the last few years, I guarantee that you've seen some clips from it. Like, you'll recognize it immediately. It's efficient, it's exhilarating, and it's structured almost like a quest, except instead of a magic ring, it's cocaine. A drug quest, if you will, but not like a vision quest on drugs, like a quest to sell drugs. There's an important distinction. Season 2 is really where the show shoots out of a fucking cannon, in my opinion. No spoilers here, but there's this prison arc towards the end of season 2 that, in my opinion, is a pretty massive turning point. And that's when, there's moments in that arc that really clicked for me personally, and that happened to have that inevitable hook moment in every good TV show where you don't have to convince yourself to give the next episode a shot anymore. You're just officially over the hump, and finishing the rest of the episodes is now a foregone conclusion. From season 2 out, Snowfall never really slows down or lets up. Now, I know I've been talking a lot, but before I go, I just want to talk about the end of the show a little bit here. No spoilers, I promise, because if you hadn't had the end of the show spoiled for you already on TikTok, it really is one of those special things you should just experience for yourself. I kind of just still have a bad taste in my mouth after the Stranger Things finale that just released, and I just really want to highlight how that is not the case here. A really bad finale can make recommending a show to someone kind of difficult, because no matter how much fun it was along the way, a terrible finale can make it feel like the whole journey wasn't worth it. But in my humble opinion, Snowfall has an expertly crafted final few episodes that are clearly and intentionally built up to right from the opening of season 5. Really, seasons 5 and 6 function as this big kind of 2-part final arc, and they both are excellent. Season 5 is Franklin reaching the absolute peak of his power. He finally has everything he's ever wanted: wealth, security, a future for his family, and then it's all ripped away. And season 6 is his final desperate attempts at getting it all back at any cost. Like, really, like any cost. And this isn't some bullshit ending. This isn't fan fiction. This isn't shock value. And it's definitely not a everyone lives happily ever after kind of situation where they destroy the mind flayer with no demodogs around it. Okay, I'm still upset about it, but everything that happens in Snowfall's finale is smart, in character, and earned, and it is well worth your time. overall, Snowfall feels like a cultural successor to The Wire in my eyes. While obviously it's not as strictly realistic as The Wire, thematically, emotionally, and structurally, they're operating in the same space. Outside of a slight COVID-related dip in season 4, the show only gets better, bigger, and bolder as it goes on, while never losing sight of its characters and themes. It's a thrilling and addictive ride that might also teach you a thing or two if you're willing to listen, and at just 60 episodes, I cannot recommend it enough. And think about it, even more reason to watch is when Damson Idris eventually makes a cameo as Black Panther in Avengers Doomsday. You could say you know who that is and look super fucking smart in front of all your friends and family. Just, remember who put you on. And that's everything I've got on FX's Snowfall. But please leave a comment down below if you're a huge fan like me, and also leave a like on the video if you enjoy what I do here. It really helps let YouTube know it needs to show my videos to more wonderful people like you. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to Nostalgia Mode for more entertainment related videos. Until next time,